Welcome to LDS Paper Toys, and usually my paper toys are pretty simple. For instance, this is the Nauvoo Temple. It only takes a couple minutes to build, primarily for children, for FHE, and for primary lessons. But sometimes I like to build something a little more complex. So here is the Houston, Texas Temple. In 2018, this temple was rededicated, and so I built this, and now you can. You can download this onto your computer. You can print it from your printer. This is just cardstock, and you can fold this up and glue this yourself. So this is the Houston, Texas Temple, and when you're all finished with this, this will actually be about a foot long, and you're going to first download this from ldspapertoys.com. It's going to be 14 sheets of paper. Make sure when it's printing out that it's actually printing out at 100%. Sometimes it'll try to print out some sheets smaller. Just make sure that it's printing out 100% or it's not going to work. For this project, you're going to need a utility knife, scissors, tape, Elmer's glue, and it'll help to have super glue. And if you want to spray paint your Moroni gold, you'll need gold spray paint. So we're going to start with this sheet here. I'm going to try to build this in the order to make it the easiest, and I think starting with this will be the easiest. This is the center of the temple. Your tower will actually go here, and these of course is the perimeter of that centerpiece. So let's start by cutting out these shapes here, and for the center you're going to need to cut this out with a utility knife. I did use the utility knife on all the corners, just so there'd be a nice sharp corner. Anywhere there was a corner, I used the utility knife instead of the scissors, just so I knew there was a nice sharp corner there. Okay, so the only thing we need to do here is we need to bend down these flaps. These flaps are simply to attach to the outer wall. So we're going to crease those. Now those are creased down, we're simply going to put that off to the side for now. So the next piece you're going to do is the one labeled back. It's only one labeled back. And what you're going to do is you're going to cut out this rectangle here. But when you get to this spot with the utility knife, you're going to cut pretty much triangles along this. Let me show you how that's done. Okay, so where these vertical lines are, I'm just going in with my utility knife. Making a vertical line. And then we're going to cut the horizontal, which is this line here. Of course, we're only going to cut this little line, then this long line, and this little line here. Okay, now that those horizontal lines are cut, I don't want the paper to rip, so I'm not going to cut every little line here. I'm simply going to go to my corner right here, and I'm going to make a triangle from there to there. Okay, so there I've made that triangle on the top of that peak there. So you can do that to all of them. Okay, so then when you're done, you end up with this shape. Notice how I just cut these into triangles. So cut that whole thing out. Of course, we're going to fold this. This is going to be the back of the temple. So we're going to crease it right on the edge of the line here. So I like to find the very edge and pinch it where it's correct on the very end. Then I go to the other end, make sure it's lined up to the very edge, and pinch it where it should be. And then I just fill in the middle. And then you give it a good crease with your fingernail. And of course do that to the other side too. Okay, now we're going to attach the piece we already did to here. It's going to go like this. And we can do that with tape. And since this is the top of the temple, I like to, when I put the tape on here, of course you could try to use double-sided tape or tape from the inside if you want to. That makes it more difficult. But if you do want to tape on the top, I try to put just barely a little bit of tape on the edge so it's not noticeable, because that is the top of the temple of the final. So you don't want people to notice that tape there. It's going to be hidden a little bit by all these towers, all these spikes. Okay, so the next piece you're going to need is the one that says front piece of temple will go here, and it's the only piece that says fold toward you. So this is going to be the front piece. We're going to cut these spikes out the same exact way we did previously in the previous step. You're going to cut around this edge, probably use the utility knife so they'll be nice and sharp. And of course you're going to cut out this whole shape. Then what we're going to do is we're going to fold these back. So here's your line. Here's where you want your crease. We're going to fold these backward. So where the note where it says fold toward you, we're going to follow that note right now. We're going to crease it towards us. I'm going to bend it and crease it. Now we're going to take this piece and we're going to attach it to this one. Now, so you have this flap coming down right here. That's going to go behind this and is going to attach with tape right here on the edge. And this flap for now on the side, this can go up to get out of your way. So we can tape this one. And this bar, this gray bar right here where my fingernail is, you want that to be even with this bar right here. This gray bar on this flap. There's just a little bit of tape on the bottom of this flap here, and I've taped it into this white area and tried to avoid taping it over this area. However, it's transparent, it wouldn't be that big a deal. I'm trying to avoid it, so I'm making sure the tape ends up here. Okay, so I've taped both sides the same way. So now they are secure. However, the ends are still a little loose where the edges come together. So what I like to do as I go along, instead of doing this at the end, it's best to do it now before we start covering this with other layers of things. So if you see a little spot that needs to be flush, like right here, this actually, although it's taped, it still is not flush. So just take some glue. It's even better if you have some super glue. You just need, here's Elmer's, just a little drop, and then just hold it there for 10 seconds. So then you have this spot here. Along this line, there's not really anything for this to attach to. But I like to do this, make these a little more flush, just using actual super glue along that edge. And then for this back end, near the back here, I'm just going to secure this. I'll put a piece of tape on the inside here. Here's the sticky part. So I've folded half of it over, folded it down, and then it's going to put it right underneath there. So you want to do that to both the sides. But you pretty much want this piece to be on top of this piece, because this piece is going to be hidden anyway. This is the piece everyone's going to see. I just wanted to make an example here. Let's just say that you were trying to tape this side, and we taped it wrong, so there's still a gap here. The tape stuck before we could stick it all the way under. Just use a utility knife, and you can easily retape these. We could start all the way over if you wanted to. Just cut that, and then put a new piece of tape. Okay, so when that's complete, now you pull out the piece of paper labeled spiked tall long sides. These are the long sides that go around the center part of the temple. So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to cut these spikes out the same way we were previously, and then you're going to cut out this whole rectangular shape. So you're going to end up with two pieces of paper that look like this. Each of those have a line near the end of them, right here, and that's where you're going to make your bend. You're going to bend the whole side, just like so. And this piece we just cut out and folded It's going to go right there. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue, and you don't need much. Very light. No one's going to see this white area, so you can tape that with no problem at all. And do that to the other side. Put a piece of tape there. And I also, just to make it a little more secure, you don't have to do this, but I put super glue along all these edges to where anywhere there was a little give, a little gap, I went ahead and put a little super glue there on the edge. Okay, the next paper you want to find are these two shapes here. That they have, it says leg C goes here, leg A goes here. And that's going to go with a different sheet that we have that says this is leg A, this is leg B. This is really easy. These are all just cut out. So we're going to cut out all these plus all the legs. When we cut out the legs, you're going to bend those right there. Okay, so now we've got the legs all cut out. This is leg B, for instance, and I've folded the edges where those lines were. So I've got all the legs, and then I've got these two bases here. So, for instance, here is leg C. It's going to fold, and we're going to put it. You can tell where they go because here's leg C goes here, and see this gray area? That's where your leg's going to go. You don't want your legs to be over the edge. You want them to be on this gray area. Our walls are going to go here later, and we don't want the leg interfering with the wall. So I'm just barely lifting this up, sliding some tape underneath, holding it there. So now the tape's just barely underneath that. And I bring up my leg, put it in position, tape it. So once you have all those legs attached, just flip it over. And then you're just going to put these into position on the temple. You'll know you have it in the right spot when you have this little edge that juts out. That's going to be on the back left and the back right. So obviously we're going to put a little bit of glue here and here, so it'll attach to the side of the temple. We'll do that on both sides. Okay, so I just added glue, Elmer's glue, to the inside of this, and now I'm just kind of putting my finger in to hold the edges as it dries, just to make it a little more secure. I'm also pushing on this edge, which I ended up adding glue to the inside of this edge here too, and of course this edge. So I'm trying to push on those where I can. You can slide your fingers in the middle and push both at the same time. Okay, now you're ready for the paper that says spiked short sides. These are the ones that go on the outside of the temple. So we're going to treat these the same way we've been doing. Do the same process to cutting these out. And of course, cut out this whole thing. And you're also going to want to bend this when you're done. Anywhere you see this black line, anywhere where two spikes are right next to each other, that's where a bend occurs. There's one here, here, and here. Two spikes with a black or a gray line in between. Okay, so these have been cut out. Like I said, wherever you see two spikes and the gray line there, you want to fold it in between those two spikes. After it's been folded, it'll look something like this. You're going to glue that on the temple like so. Actually, and you don't want to glue this high to the top because that part can be seen, so make sure there's no glue up there. Okay, so the next paper you're going to do is the one labeled spiked short back. And we're really not going to worry about these top two for now because they are part of the tower. So we can actually just cut those out of the way. You can see I've already pre-cut some of this stuff earlier. Already cut out the tops of these. And after that's cut out, you'll see that there is a dark line right here. We've got the 2 points where we're going to fold, but we're also going to fold this line as well. So it's kind of difficult to fold both of those, but it's for this small part of the temple where there's a little corner here. So it's going to fold in like that. The skinny line folds in. You're going to glue that like we did the other ones. Okay, so I went ahead, added those, and glued those. I even put a little bit of super glue where it connects right here and right here where it touches. Just make it a little stronger, a little more seamless. And now we're going to start working on this piece right here. Just to make it easier, I'm going to mark in red all the places that you should use your utility knife. This is a little tricky and it's a little delicate, so if you're off just a little bit, then your column won't be right. It'll tear off. So you have to do it just right to keep your column on. So there's 4 columns here and they all fold back in 3 dimensions, which is kind of cool when you get it done. But you just have to watch where you're cutting. Those 4 black squares are the base of each column. So, and that's going to be at the very bottom. You're never going to see those black squares because they're going to be on the table. Everything else is going to fold backward, which would be up. And so you'll see first step is just cut where you see those red lines. Okay, so if you use your utility knife and cut along those lines, and use your scissors to cut the perimeter if you want, then this is what it turns out to be. So these are all separated, as you can see. They're hanging on. The ones at the top are hanging on by where these black boxes are connected. That shows you where each column is. So that one can't be cut. And the sides are these 2 black ones on the side. That's where those connect. So all you have to do now is to fold them into a 3-dimensional object. So I'm just going to fold along these vertical lines and essentially make a column out of it. So just in a few seconds I was able to do one side of it. You can see it's coming together. There's the column. If I just keep doing this, then it'll go all the way around. So I'm just going to drop a little super glue here and hold. And then I'm going to go to the other side. Also, both sides will have this one column by itself. This line here, you're actually going to fold down that line so that we bend the roof support. Okay, and when you're done, it's going to look something like this. So notice you get the black squares there, that's the bottom. You're going to fold these up, and this will help support the roof. Okay, so you can see I folded those sides, and then I bent the roof. I also taped the roof together. And then just to be on the safe side, I put a little bit of super glue just to connect the top of the roof to this front piece here. So we're going to put that off to the side right now. And we're going to get the piece that attaches to. You can see it here on this. This talks about the vertical folds, and there's an outline where that roof piece would go. So we're going to do this the same way we did before. We're going to cut out these spikes here and cut out everything else. And this cuts out as a separate piece as well. We're also going to slice these doors open, and you're just going to cut along the bottom of the door right there and the top of the door just so it can open. After we do that, you'll see the vertical folds are pointing to these dark lines. there's 4 folds, and those are a little tough, but just bend those, and they're to fit the front of the temple right here. Okay, so I actually folded these really sharp, and then after they were nice and creased, then I folded them the opposite direction until it fit to where I wanted. You don't have to do this, but if you want to, you can bend those doors open and you can glue Jesus behind those doors. So you would open those doors, line it up, and then just glue it in the back. You can take the whole thing and then glue it to the front of the temple. And you can glue, put glue on the back here. And then we just tuck this behind. And you probably want to pull on it a little bit, just so it's flat. See that I'm actually pulling on the bottom, kind of pulling this away, even dragging the whole thing with me. That's just to make sure that the back is gluing on there flat. After it's glued, I can then let go and then deal with the roof. I'm actually gonna super glue this roof in place. Okay, now we're gonna go to one of the few pieces of paper you have left, and this is the tower piece. It says this part is hidden here at the bottom. You can see I've already started using my utility knife, cutting the top part of this out. So I'm just gonna finish and cut around. Now, when you're cutting the bottom of this tower piece, here at the bottom, it's very important that you make it really even, because this will actually be resting on the bottom of whatever you set it on. So if you do it unevenly, then it won't be a even tower. So we're just going to fold this up. These lines will tell you where to fold. Just going to fold like we've been doing, nice sharp edges, and you can do it for all these lines going this way. So now I've creased those edges of the tower. I'm going to put a piece of tape in here. I'm just going to tape those edges together. And use the lines to make sure you get it right. If you did it right, it should be able to fit into the top of the temple here. Very gently ease it in. If it doesn't seem like it's going in, all you do is just adjust each side, make sure you're going in straight, and it'll slide right in. And just take that all the way to the bottom. Okay, now I'm going to cut out this page here. You can see I've already cut out these rings with utility knife, and I have to go ahead and also cut out the middle of these rings, so get rid of all that white in this ring as well. And then on this, you're going to cut along all these edges on the outside. Okay, now that those are cut out, what you're going to do is on this top line right here, we're going to fold this down. That's the surface of that platform. So we're going to bring this back up, and we're going to fold this piece on the next line up. We're going to fold it back towards us. And you want to make sure these lines are done really well. Take your time with it. Now up here, we're going to do it again. Fold back. And then fold forward on that line. I kind of rushed through that a little bit, but you can see there's a platform here, then it juts inward, and then there's another platform. And so you have to do that with all these pieces here. So here I've cut them out and I started bending, and to make them tight here I've folded them in like that. And then if you take it here and then pull it, kind of springs out and then goes where you want it to go. Pull all these out, and then you start folding. We're going to fold on all these creases, and then we're going to end up, after you fold it, we're going to tape those together. So So now that those are folded, I'm just going to, I put a piece of tape there. I'm going to connect these sides like we did with the other tower. And so here I put a piece of tape on the outside of this. And no one's going to see this level here. They're going to see the platforms, but not right here. It's going to be covered. So just put a piece of tape on it. Tape is going both ways. And just line up this top platform. Line up that platform and then put a piece of tape to secure that. Line up this top platform. So those platforms to pretty much match up, and then just tape below in place. So now I'm taping up the top layer. It's very important when you're taping this up, what you're going by is that they're all even. So this piece isn't taped yet, so I'm going to put it in position. It's even. There you go. So now it's flush with the top, with the rest of them. So if your tower is done, your tower should look something like this. And now we have this piece of paper, and we're going to cut out these. So I've already started using my utility knife and cutting these out. So you're going to leave that center there. That's what's going to keep it all together. And then you can cut this out as detailed as you want. You can leave this yellow, but what I like to do is I take this outside, cover up this much of it, and then I spray paint this with gold spray paint. It only takes a second. There's nothing really to cover. A couple sprays, you're done. But then flip it over and spray the other side, so that when you cut this out, Moroni will be on both sides. And don't worry about where the paint is on the back side. You can spray paint the whole thing if you want, because when we cut it out, you'll see that the rest will be covered anyway. Or you can just leave it how it is. Okay, and this piece that we cut out, you're going to have to crease these sides. You probably don't have to crease the little ones, but the big ones, crease them down. Do that, they should cooperate a little more and go into this sort of shape. Each of these need to be creased. So this, where this line is, I'm going to fold that so that this part can be straight, and the tower then will have the freedom to be in an angle. So do that to all those pieces before you tape them on. See, there's the short rectangle, then there's a long rectangle. There's the two sides. Notice that corresponds with this short and long red area. So we're going to take a short piece, for instance, from here, attach it to exactly over that red area, and then we're going to just tape it. Okay, so I taped those on, and some parts, if you want to make it look better, you can super glue this, and the more you crease the top here, the more uniform these will become. So you may have to play with it for a little bit. And then when you're done with that, you just want to stick that in the hole at the top. So I spray painted this Moroni, I cut it out, spray painted it, I just covered this part like I said, and then I just turned over the back and then spray painted the back. No one's going to see the back part past that point there, because we're going to attach it to the tower. So you're just going to put this piece here, and you're going to glue it, and then put it back in the top of the temple. So this should be the only paper that you have left. We're going to cut these out, and they're going to be the covers for this area here. Okay, so I've cut this out, and I'm folding this. Now, when you fold this, you actually have it where one wall has 4 spikes. One wall has nothing. No spikes there. Then you have 4 spikes, then you have nothing again. So that'll just keep going around the same pattern around this whole thing. And then the other piece of the tower, same idea. You know, there's nothing here, and then there's 2 here, and there's nothing here. Okay, so when those are all done, you're going to tape them together like we did the other tower. So before we put this piece on, we're going to take that ring that we cut out earlier, we're going to put that over the top, over the Moroni, down the tower, and then let it rest in here. Then we're going to take this piece, we're going to take it over the Moroni, down, then we're going to take our smaller ring, put it over the Moroni, down the tower, Then we're going to take our last piece, put that over the Moroni, down, and then into place. Now this piece is an optional piece. You don't have to put it out there. When I built this, the Houston Temple was being rededicated, and there was an event, and so this actually kind of stood up to the right of the temple. You can put that up as well. You just cut this out and then fold it up into kind of a cube, and then make a hole out of here, and then slide this piece through this one, and it'll stand up like a stand. And I'll show you what the final of that looks like here in a second.